And I just want to reinforce again, there is no hate in our hearts for the individual. My hatred is solely at the institutions, solely at the government and those who are betraying children. I do not hate anybody on how they identify their race, their religion, their sexuality. This is Leila. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining today. Normally I like to speak from the heart. I actually wrote what I wrote down today from the heart purely because I knew we would be distracted with what happened up at the Parliament steps. So let me read what I've got here. I'd like to acknowledge our brothers and sisters of the Wurundjeri tribe as we stand on their land and all the tribes of Terra Australis. So thank you for joining today, and I hope that this message today touches the hearts of everybody listening. So we gather today peacefully in a united front to stand up to the disgusting decay of our society. Mark Twain once said, "It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they're being fooled." Let's take a very quick trip down memory lane of how our society was fooled and led down the path of decay in the last 3 years, which has really accelerated and is only getting worse. Neighbours weren't and still aren't supporting each other, where they became informants for our public servants. Small business owners turned into Gestapo officers to check if your badge was compliant and whether you were worthy of being a customer, while treating healthy humans like lepers while still taking their money. Strangers stopped smiling at each other and stopped being courteous with one another, however, resorted to physically fighting over toilet paper. Remember that? Yeah. Children were being imprisoned within their own homes with their parents or guardians who couldn't cope with lengthy, torturous, unlawful lockdowns. Crime rates went up as people were wore face nappies to protect them from a virus that would sneak in through the bloody sides anyway, making it easy to conceal their identity and get away with their crimes. Mental health deteriorated. Psychologists as well as counsellors were fully booked to the point that people needed serious help, resorted to taking their lives as they lost all hope of an end to this madness and couldn't see a professional soon enough to save their lives. Is this acceptable morally? No. No.
Hell no.
Hell no, absolutely. While all this was happening, another sinister motive was taking place under our noses, pushing an agenda which was created to confuse innocent children on whether they were a boy, a girl, a cat, or a dog. What on earth has become of our society? I am not a parent. However, I'm a very proud auntie of 2 adorable little girls who I will absolutely protect to the death, along with their warrior mother and father, uncles and aunties who are all awake. I am part of the village that is raising and protecting these children. Even though I didn't have children, my love for children of the world fuels my desire to protect them and lead them to safety. Your children are my children, and as a village, together we will help raise them. We are on the precipice of an ethical dilemma, and right now we must act out of urgency to restore children's innocence, morals, values, and balanced lifestyles. A major issue of ethnocentrism exists in the godless Western world right now. Ethnocentrism is the belief that our own culture is superior and promotes the view that each culture should be respected in its own right. I, for one, cannot and will not respect the new culture that is indoctrinating the children today by perverted child groomers.
That's right.
I stand here today with all of you to ensure that this new culture is cancelled, as it only serves the pedophiles enabling this agenda. Sorry, I mean a map, a minor attracted person. But the only map that we know of that is suitable for them is their highway to hell. This stand today is not against the LGBTQIA+ community. Let's get that clear. I have family and friends that are in that community, and I love and adore them as I do all of you. Their movement has been hijacked by a new breed of terrorists that should be locked in jail and have the key thrown away. Let's not turn a blind eye to the Trojan horse that is wheeling itself in through their community.
Good, Leila.
Thank you. As it ushers in the sick, evil, perverted plan to create a society that lacks identity. A society that lacks identity lacks vision, integrity, honour and purpose. protection, unity, respect and honesty enabled by the system that they're plugged into. Is this acceptable to you, I ask you?
No.
As a society, we are being forced into a moral stance of acceptance versus tolerance. There are some things that we accepted but did not tolerate in the last 3 years. Such things like corrupt bureaucrats giving themselves pay rises and re-electing themselves against the people's approval or liking. In addition to the corruption, schools have become cult-like places of indoctrination. Teachers have almost become like cult leaders, overpowering parental values for their children in an isolated environment to be able to create transformed followers for the woke leaders that await them in their future. Long ago, drug lords used to stick drugs into jelly beans and hang out in front of the schools so they would give these to the kids, creating future addicts, future customers. Now, the new norm is not with the drug lords anymore. It is with a sick agenda in the form of children's cartoons and books that include visual art that is highly inappropriate for any child to see or read. Authors and scriptwriters are being coerced to create material that is inclusive of the left woke agenda. If not, their work will be superseded by an author or creative director willing to bow down to the Satanists funding the platform of their work. Now, even though woke people cannot define a woman, let me assure you there is a very clear definition of a child which cannot be mistaken or misinterpreted. The literal definition of a child is, as quoted in the dictionary, a young human being below the age of puberty or below the legal age of the majority. The age of consent here in Victoria, Australia, is 16. The law says you cannot legally agree to sexual activity, and anyone who does so is breaking the law. The definition of sexual activity is a physical sexual act that is not permitted to a child below the age of 16. So how on earth are children's books with these perverted narratives available at megastores like Kmart and Big W, as well as public libraries and school libraries, in direct view of a child's curious and wondering eye? These books must be removed from all shelves that a child has access to. The books we are referring to are pornographic in nature, some including same-sex children committing lewd sexual acts with each other, including things like giving each other oral and anal sex. These books have also been written in a way that lures children into questioning their own gender, when this is not even a discussion an innocent child should be privy to while still a minor. Is this acceptable to you, I ask?
No way, evil.
We have been privy to children being given homework by their teachers in schools to ask their parents about sexual acts, including but not limited to masturbation. They are children, young minds, not teenagers. Children under the age of 10. Teachers are playing along with the game of these woke bureaucrats in order to keep their jobs. Instead of protecting the children from being corrupted by filth, they are buying into the agenda by encouraging children to question their identity. They are undoing the years of hard work that loving parents have put in to protect their child, only to send them off to a grooming facility. A teacher is meant to be like a second parent and a role model. They are supposed to be dedicated to guiding and instructing to the betterment of their future.
Homeschool your kids!
Yeah, that's one of my solutions, brother.
Yeah,
There's a saying about teachers that says, a good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way for others.
Right.
Where are those teachers now? If a child believes it is a cat and it meows to communicate, it's given kitty litter to defecate in instead of using a human's toilet, their mind is being corrupted and with distorted beliefs. The teacher of today will not only provide that kitty litter, but will also give that child a bowl of milk to pander to the lunacy of its confused state of identity. Belief systems can make people change everything about who they are. Belief is the death of intelligence, and doubt is the custodian of truth. And what they are doing is the illusory truth effect. Illusory truth effect is when you keep being told false or wrong information repeatedly, and then you begin to believe it. These new truths being mental health patients for the very system that is implementing this agenda. Clause 5 from the Geneva Treaty on Genocide states the removal of children from their communities with a view to extinguishing their culture. Their culture as we know it is deteriorating, and we must put a spanner in the works of this current genocide before it gets worse. As a society, we must live by the universal law of do no harm. Children are absolutely being harmed right now, and more than any other time in history, we must work together right now to put an end to its madness. Is this acceptable?
No.
All right, let's talk about solutions. Homeschool your children if you have the means and support to do it. Create a support group through your like-minded community and take turns in helping take care of the child's learning schedule. The public school system pretty much controls your child's mind and growth. Your children right now are being raised by the state while you slave away to pay your taxes that pay for the bureaucrats' holidays and alcohol consumption. And the next solution is to grab the offensive books and take it to the store manager and complain. In addition to taking a photo of these books, write a letter or email to the head office advising you will boycott the stores if they do not remove these filthy books. Question your children every day about the content they're learning at school. Make your boundaries very clear to the school principal, coordinator and their teachers about acceptable and non-acceptable learning material. Teach your children how to be critical thinkers. Spend time with your children and limit their time on social media as well as online gaming. There are many perverted predators and groomers lurking in the digital rooms your children play in. When you're not paying attention to them, someone else is, and they'll invite them onto non-regulated platforms like Discord and Patreon, where they'll be exposed to sexually explicit content and conversations with perverted pedophiles.
Good speech, sister.
Almost finished.
That's all
Make
enough.
sure your children know who their safe and trusted adults are in their lives so they can turn to help when you're not around. If you are a family of faith, please educate your children to live by their faith instead of bowing down to godless groomers under your noses. Do not let your children take their phones, iPads or computers to their bedrooms. Set up parental controls on their devices to secure them as much as possible. Put black tape over the cameras of their phones, iPads and laptops. Teach them the kind of questions that groomers will ask them. Make sure they are prepared. Educate them on what not to share on social media. Scan all cartoons, movies and books that your child will have access to before they watch them or read them. Now, let's stop being fooled. It's time to take action. From today on, we unite to strengthen and restabilize our bow so that we may set our children forth as arrows away from the decay of society and onto the path of innocence, purity, love, respect, and courage. Let me finish my speech today with this powerful quote. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph in the world is that good men and good women do nothing. Silence is compliance. My name is Leila. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leila. We're going to have a couple more speeches. Rose is next. I just want to address something. Both the previous girls mentioned the school. Just while the speeches are on, thanks guys.